Good morning to you. I hope you're feeling well this morning and refreshed after a good night's sleep. We're carrying on in Luke. There's so much in the Gospels, isn't there? As we go through it, we're looking at Luke chapter 8, 22 to 25. 25. It's the story of... We've had a lot of thinking, we've a lot of teaching from Jesus that we've been thinking about. But here is an experience that he and his disciples had. And can I encourage you today to use your imagination and see this happening for yourself? They all got into a boat, he and his disciples. So there's at least 13 of them, probably plus some crew, I would have thought. Although some of them were fishermen, they had given up their fishing job. Maybe they used their own boat. I don't know. Use your imagination. What would they have done? Would they have used Simon Peter's boat or Andrew and John? Would they have used one of their family boats? I don't know. But here they are. They get into a boat and he says to them, let's go across to the other side. So this is the word, Here is Jesus has taught about the word, the spoken word being creative. Let's go over to the other side, he says. So this is the intention of Jesus, is to go to the other side. Not just to go on a boating trip onto the lake and come back again from where they set sail, but to go across the lake. This is his word. And he's taught about how the word grows and produces. The word of God produces what it says it will do. His full expectation is that they will reach the other side of the lake. Now, I've been on the Lake of Galilee. I was fortunate enough to go over there for a week. And one of the things we did was go on a trip. And it's a beautiful lake. And it's very mountainous all the way around, really. And there's only about 3 or 4 places where you can actually beach a boat on the lake because of the rugged landscape. But even when you're in the centre of the lake, you can see the shores. It's not that big. It's big, but it's not huge. You can see the shores from the centre of the lake, but it's quite a distance away. And it is prone to these sudden storms that rise up. And there they are. They're on the boat, and they're sailing under the wind, and Jesus falls asleep. And then this storm comes down on the lake, and the boat was beginning to fill with water, and they were afraid. And they thought they were going to sink. Now this is interesting because remember that quite a few of the disciples were fishermen, and they knew all about this lake. They knew this lake. They'd grown up on it. They knew how to sail on it, and they knew when it was a bad storm and when it wasn't. And this was a bad storm. And the lake and the boat was filling up with water. And for the fishermen to be afraid, I can imagine that the fishermen, if this was not a serious situation, would have directed the others how to handle it. But they were all afraid. And they went to Jesus and woke him up, shouting, Master, Master, we're perishing. And he woke up, and he rebuked the wind and the seas, and it ceased immediately, and there was a great calm. Raging waves, it says here. And he said to them, where is your faith? They were afraid and amazed and said to one another, who then is this, that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him? Jesus was beginning to show them that not only did he have the words of life, but he had the authority over life and death. He is the Son of God. He is the Lord. He is the one whose word is law in this world. And he had said, let's go to the other side. And this storm had tried to prevent him. And it wasn't going to prevent him because he was going to the other side and he'd spoken it. And I think when he says, where is your faith? He's asking them, didn't you believe the word I spoke? that we would get to the other side. So this is an interesting thing, isn't it? It's about Jesus teaching in actual experience what he'd been teaching in theory in the parable, that his word is law. When Jesus said something, it's law, and we should treat it as such. And the enemy has to submit to that. And the storm could not have prevented them. Had Jesus stayed asleep, the storm would not have prevented them from getting to the other side of the lake, because the word that Jesus spoke was more powerful than the storm. But here we are. We're in the middle of a storm, aren't we? We are in the middle of a seemingly endless experience that came upon us very suddenly. We were just pottering about our lives day to day, weren't we? And then suddenly this pandemic came out of nowhere. Well, out of China, but it came seemingly out of nowhere. And suddenly the whole world is affected and locked down, and nothing is predictable. People who think it's safe and are ready to go on holiday are finding that it's not so safe as they thought it was, and that people on holiday, I've been reading some of the reports, and it seems that people on holiday in Spain have been behaving as if there is no pandemic, and therefore there is a risk if they're involved in that kind of activity without masks, without social distancing, without being careful, doing what they want in large crowds all the time. For them to come home and expect not to be quarantined is to risk a further spike in cases here in England. And this is not over yet. So we don't know how long this storm is going to be raging. But we do know that Jesus is in control. Jesus has it in his hands. He knows what he's doing. And he says to us what he said to these disciples. Where is your faith? Don't be anxious. He's saying to us, do not be anxious. Don't worry. Even if you think I seem to be sleeping, it's all right. The storm is not going to destroy you. I'm with you. I'm in the boat with you. I'm there with you in the experience that you're having. So rather than seeing it as a disaster, see it as an opportunity to develop your trust in God. To say every day, I know the Lord will take me through this. I know I will reach the other side. I know that the storm will calm. I know that there is a future ahead for me, that God has planned for me, and nothing can get in the way of that. So let's take everything day by day, whatever comes to you. And we are all experiencing days when it seems to be more frustrating than not, when we wish we could see people we haven't seen, when we wish we could do more than we are doing. And it may be that even what we're doing we may have to curtail if there's a fresh spike in this disease. So we're taking it day by day, trusting the Lord day by day, and taking the opportunity to look into his word and to consider these things. So spend today thinking about that storm on the lake and how Jesus dealt with it and how the disciples dealt with it and what you can learn from it. Because realizing that Jesus is Lord even over the forces of nature tells us just something more about how amazingly powerful and how wonderful he is. Let your faith in who Jesus is grow today as you think about this story. And I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.